Okay, so what was the impacts of COVID-19 period on Enforcer? Like, what are your thoughts?
It's been both positive and negative, I would say, because if we start with the negative things, is that we had a tour canceled or at least postponed, which isn't too bad. I mean, things are getting like it's the same for everyone, so it's like it's okay. But from the positive side, it's been like actually pretty nice to have a break for the first time in a very long time. We had I've been having I've been working on this pretty much every day for the past 12, 13 years. And it's always been a lot of pressure, a lot of like a lot of stress involved with working with this, of course, like it is for any band, I guess, on a higher level. But so it's been very nice to just like have like a legitimate break from everything and just like be able to focus on things. We've been working a lot, or I've been working a lot on like things for the band. Like I've been writing a lot of riffs, writing like a lot of song ideas. I've been finishing the work for our new live album.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and stuff like that. So everything is 100% ready to go with a live album. So we're just waiting for a release date for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So, are you gonna release any new material, new songs, or just a live album?
It's just live album. It's like a video live album. So it's like I don't know if the songs will be available only audio, but it's like it's very worked through, and it's like a serious production with video. Last time it was like just a recorded festival, you know, with Live by Fire one. It was like, but this time it's like our headline show that we recorded. So it's like 75, 80 minutes of music.
That's
like
great.
with material from all our career. So that's pretty great. Yeah.
So for your new material, like for your newer albums, do you consider doing any Swedish songs?
No, I don't think so.
Why?
It's just not. I don't think there's like enough market to waste songs on like a language that most of our fans can't relate to.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, even though it would be fun, but also a lot of it's a lot of work behind every song that we always do, and somehow it's like somehow you want the songs to be able to spread as much as possible because you put so much like time and effort into every single song.
Yeah. So as we all know, there are really a lot of changes on the world because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So how do you think it will affect the music industry? Like, what are your thoughts about it?
I don't know. It's too early to say, but bands are being creative, and we have to be creative. What it will be in a year from now, I have no idea. But for us, like I said, it's been pretty good. It's been a legitimate break, and we had from all the stress and pressure. But what it will be after this, I have seriously no idea. Maybe this will like more bands will continue to do live stream stuff like this after, like when this is done. Maybe it's like a reason to use the technology we have for that kind of things, and perhaps more bands will gravitate more towards like social media even more, because it seems to be playing a very big role for people or for bands these days more than ever.
Yeah. So when we look back before Enforcer, like how did you start listening to metal at all?
Um, I don't know. It was like when I was a kid, it was something that was like mainstream, with bands like Guns N' Roses, Iron Maiden, Metallica, Nirvana to some point, even though that's not like metal. But that type of music was like very, very mainstream when I was growing up. So that's, every kid at my elementary school even had like shirts with these bands, and
That's
you
great.
turn on the TV, and there was like MTV playing all this music. So it was way more mainstream compared to what it is today. Today you have to be like very specifically into something, because it's today heavy metal is like a subculture, but then it was like commercial. Kids were into it. Kiss, also a band who was like extremely mainstream during the 1980s, and it wasn't very hard to get into. It was just like you heard this, you saw it on TV, you thought it was like relatable and cool, and I don't know, I just fell in love with it, and eventually like ended up dedicating my life to it, more or less. I never grew out of it like most other people did.
Well, that's awesome. Like metal
Yeah.
is I think, one of the best genres ever.
Yeah.
So, how did you start playing guitar?
Hmm. We're very musical in our family, and so there was always like music surrounding us, growing up. But like it was, I mean, like playing music. I actually played the accordion first,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, a very long time ago, when I was like 6, 7 years old. But then, like, once heavy metal started to play a bigger role for me in my life, I like put one and two together, and picked up the guitar instead. We
That's,
had an electric guitar here, like my dad had an electric guitar, so it's just like it wasn't very hard to just pick that up and start to jam with it.
so, did you practicing vocals at the same time when you were first playing the guitar?
Did I what?
Practicing vocals.
No, I never really practiced vocals at all, actually. I never took any vocal lessons, or I never did anything like that. It's just something that I've been improvising.
Well, that's great because you have a great voice.
Oh,
So,
thank
how
you.
do you train it? Like, if you do.
I don't train it, or I mean, I wish I had the dedication to actually practice singing, but I never do. I don't really find it very challenging, or it's nothing that I'm like genuinely interested in. Unfortunately, maybe I should practice more, but I never been interested in vocals as an instrument. That's just something that been with me. But of course, it's like very, you practice when you play shows, and we've been playing quite a lot of shows during our career. So that's the practice that I had, and
Well,
that's a pretty good practice.
you have a great voice. So,
Thank
uh,
you.
which bands did influence you the most as a guitar player?
As a guitar player,
Yes.
um, it's been lots of different guitar players like that inspired me through my entire life, I would say. But I was a major Metallica fan growing up, so obviously Kirk Hammett. Like when I was like a kid, I learned all his solos, like on all the songs, and that was like how I learned to master like the pentatonic scale, and um, and it's very simple solos usually, but it's very effective, and it's really like it's something that you can handle, like without like being too great. So it's great practice, that type of solos, like especially like say the Kill 'Em All album. Those solos was something that I
Great.
practiced a lot, like when I learned to play the guitar. But later also, like later also, like Marty Friedman was something that inspired me greatly in my mid-teens, I would say, and even like Yngwie Malmsteen. But it took me very long time to figure out how to like play like him. So I always admired him, but I couldn't play anything like him until like very recently, when I've been like really like focusing on studying his playing style and stuff like that. So but up to a certain point, he never, even though I always admired him, and I still put him like the best guitar player in the world, but just very recently that I can say that he's been inspiring me, because I could never play anything that he did before. But and lately also like Eric Johnson, and also a lot of classical music like Vivaldi and Bach is stuff that I play on the guitar very like frequently.
So the classical music inspired you, right? Because there are some classical music patterns on your songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and jazz, did jazz influence you?
Yeah, I would say so. Not directly, but indirectly. It's like we have some. I studied music at like a music college, music school for a while, and you were more or less like forced to study jazz music because of the harmony and like the phrasing, and and a lot of that things. So I have played a lot of that kind of things too, and it has taught me a lot about music. But then, yeah, do I listen to it? Yeah, not really. Does it inspire me? No, not really. You can throw in some Mixolydian scale here and there, or you can like throw in some of that, to spice shit up. But it's nothing that I no, not really.
But it is actually great to hear some classical music and jazz patterns on your music. It just feels more like different than the other bands.
Yeah, I always try to do things like different, and my biggest enemy in creating music is like genericism. It's like the last thing I want to do is do something that feels generic and boring, and and already a copy of something else. Even though stuff can always inspire you, and you can sometimes both like accidentally, but also intentionally steal things or borrow things. So but do it I always like wanted to do it with style, that type of things, and to not limit my sources of inspiration in any kind.
But I think you're doing great, like, because all of your albums has such a, like, some of them are, yes, speed, but some of them are heavy, and when you're listening each one of album, it's something more different. They're actually different from each other at some points, and I think that's a great thing.
I think so too, somehow, but I think I wouldn't say that the albums are different, but the songs are slightly different. But I always think that every album we've been having our signature sound on, and then we've done a few different songs that go in one or another direction a little bit to spice things up. But yeah, I get.
So, which bands did influence and force the most?
In the beginning or now, or
actually in general?
Oh, I mean, it's like obviously in the very beginning of the band's career, it was very important to have very obvious inspiration bands that inspired you. Like we so badly wanted to be like an 80s new wave of British heavy metal or Swedish first wave of Swedish heavy metal band, somewhere in between there, and that was like the style I was aiming for. But since the second album and on, I think that we've been taking our signature sound and adding pretty much everything, you know. It's like everything you hear, whether it's metal or not, whether it's rock or not, whether it's whatever, can be inspiring. Because it's like musically, at least, there's a lot of good things, like in all types of music, and you can steal a melody or be inspired by a rhythm pattern from all types of unexpected things. And I think that's the greatest things with music, is that you can let everything more or less that you hear inspire you, and you feel that you can do your own thing about it.
Yeah, so the first wave of Swedish heavy metal influenced you, right? Can we
In the very beginning, yeah, when it was more important for us, because obviously when we were teenagers and we were in the beginning of the career, we were very keen on being something that we, you know, that we looked up to a little bit, and that was the scene that we mostly looked up to, because that was like the truest of the true, you know, metal, new wave of British heavy metal, when metal was like as real as it always, like, you know, real and honest and energetic. Yeah.
So what do you think in the future there will be a period like the 80s where the metal is more mainstream?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I think that metal music will be more and more underground. It seems, unfortunately, that that's the way it is, because we rarely see. We have a fairly young following, but like the music doesn't really speak to today's kids, because they're grown up with very different ideals and very different very different standards compared to what we are grown up to. I mean, somehow this is the music of my generation, and maybe for like a generation before me also. So I mean, it seems like kids and young teenagers today listen to completely different music, and that's going to make it really, really tough to secure the regrowth of the scene in the longer run, I think. It's just like time changes, and that's nothing, you know, you can do anything about. I bet you are very lonely in your taste of music in your school or so.
Not so much actually. A lot of my friends are listening to Enforce, like,
Yeah.
because
That's because of you.
because I just show every single of your songs to them, and they actually like it, even though they
Yeah.
don't really like metal, but just like your songs.
But that's great. I appreciate that, and I think that our music is for everyone. Like not only for the most true of the true, but for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, because not every um like when people, not only people who like metal listens to your music, but other than that, like if they like other genres but actually listen to your music too.
Yeah. I hope so.
So I have a question about your Ibanez Destroyer. Actually, is it
Yeah.
a Colin model DT 555?
I don't know. Maybe I got it on eBay. I can't remember.
Oh, okay. So why did you choose it? It's because it is so rare, actually.
Yeah, no, why I chose it. I think I wanted. I can't remember why I started to look at that guitar. I think it was like because Adrian Smith was playing one of those at like was at the like Peace of Mind tour or something, and it felt so fucking 80s. So I've been like, because of that, I was like very interested in it. So I looked on eBay and I started to like investigate this model, and I found this one from Australia. So I had it imported from Australia.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah. So after many years of playing countless shows, what did you learn throughout those years about touring and playing in different countries?
I learned everything that I know. I have the world touring to thank for, I would say, my entire personality. How I came to meet people from different cultures and get to know different cultures, and I could like also get a perspective on the culture that I'm living in myself, with knowing like other cultures and meeting fans and becoming, actually having friends in almost every country of the world have made me very, it has made me very, I don't know, yeah, it's very important for my personality, I think, to have been doing these travels and get close to people and fans in a way that like normal vacation travels never can teach you, you know.
Yeah.
Because I think we toured in over like 40 countries by now, and yeah, it's been a very, very extremely great time that we've been having.
Yeah. So, do you have any advices for people who are trying to start a solo project or a band?
Yeah, a lot of things. Um, what would the most important thing be? Maybe stick to your idea and don't listen to other people. Never listen to other people. Never listen to what other people have to say about your music, because if you listen to other people, and your music is just gonna change from something that, from your idea, to a mixture of everyone's ideas, which is gonna make it flat and probably boring. Do your thing to 100% and believe in yourself.
So, do you have any advices for guitarists apart from that?
Practice, and don't underestimate technique. It was first, I can tell you, when I was like decent on guitar for a very, very long time. I played guitar since I was like 7 years old, but I could never like reach a certain level that I wanted, because I couldn't handle the technique, and I had actually no idea, and I had no teacher who could teach me these techniques either. My guitar teacher always was more like jazz based, or like other genres. But I started to like maybe it's like 5-6 years ago now. I started to, after touring with like virtuoso bands like Ex Mortis and Skullfist and some other bands who have like extremely great guitar players, that really inspired me to like really, really practice. So I started to like work on technique, and especially like picking techniques, and to really start from the beginning and know all these things, the scales, the different modes, play on the entire neck, and all that kind of things, and study music in general. But picking technique is very extremely important for playing guitar.
Yeah. So, okay. So, are you happy with the general success of Enforcer?
Very good. No, I'm not. But there's not so much I can do about it.
So, what are your goals?
I mean, realistic goals. I mean, of course I would like want that we would be like the biggest band in the universe. And as long as I'm not happy with the success. But I always had high goals with everything that I'm doing, and that's what keeps me motivated to continue also. And never satisfy, and never, always develop yourself, always find new ways, always, continue, always become better is always something that's very important for me too, and never satisfy. It's like, I think that every album that we've done has just got better and better and better for every album, and that's a progress I don't see in a lot of other bands, and that's something that I'm quite proud over. But am I happy about it? You can always become bigger, of course, but yeah.
But you're actually more successful than the other bands, like some of the other underground bands.
Of course, but I never intended to be an underground band. I never wanted to be an underground band.
Yes, but like, what did you do to be more successful?
What we have done, or what I would like to do.
No, what you have done.
I think that we have a lot of, like, we were the first band playing like real metal, I think, in the 2000s. And just like being the first helped us a lot in the beginning, because when we started the band in 2004, 2005, there was no other real metal band. All other bands sounded like fucking Limp Bizkit, They had chugga chugga riffs, and they had they were like ridiculous, like parody power metal bands, or just shit like that. There was nothing, or like black death metal stuff. There was nothing. There wasn't one single band in the entire world playing real music in 2004, or real metal, I would say. So there was like a huge demand for that I didn't really understand at that time. So I think we have a lot of things to thank for that. We actually were first, like commercially, and between you and me, our songs are also better than all the other band's songs, I think. But that's, once again, music is subjective, so my opinion doesn't really matter anyway.
No, actually, it matters. Like, your fans.
Yeah.
So the now metal music is like more like not real music, actually. So do you think like heavy metal will be more popular in the metal scenes, in the generic metal scenes?
Sorry again?
So today's metal music is more like the new generation of music is more like Dijant or something like that. So will heavy metal will be popular in metal scenes again?
I don't know. I've been trying to make real metal popular in the metal scene every day for 15 years. And we come a little way, but we're not even close to where we set our goals. Is it possible? As long as people will continue support plastic, generic shit metal, I don't know, because that seems what a lot of people also like, which I completely don't understand.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
But actually, a lot of bands are influenced by your music.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, we created somewhat of like a following, so during these years, so that's something that we're really happy about, and it feels very, very good to know that that you've inspired people to do cool stuff.
So in general, what do you think about the bands that are influenced by your music?
I don't know. Some are good, some are I can think sometimes that some bands are picking up like misinterpreting our music and style sometimes when they say that they're inspired by us. But yeah, it doesn't really matter, because I'm really flattered every time somebody like says that we inspire this person to this or to do that.
Yes. So, what kind of music would you do if you weren't playing metal?
Probably classical music.
Right. So how do you actually spend your free times when you're not playing music or working?
I do a lot of like in sound engineering. I produce other bands. I mix records. Do this. I do a lot of sound work for television shows, commercials, this and that. I do a lot of that kind of things. That's like my cash cow. But apart, like privately, I like a lot of sports. I've always been like it's always been very important for me to stay in shape and to, so yeah, a lot of sports. And I run, bike, play tennis, play golf, play hockey. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, great. So how did you actually start Enforcer? Like, because it was first a solo project, but did you do that?
Yeah, I think that I in the very beginning, I never really meant to make the band like a real band. That was something that was like growing, but I was just like, I was commuting to university back in 2004, 5, and I was like coming up with these song ideas, because I was always been going through different phases in my life, listening to different types of music. And during this time, I went through like I was heavily into like thrash metal for a year or two when I was like in my mid to late teens, and then I just overnight I stopped like caring about thrash metal, and I started to like listen to like heavy metal and that kind of things, like late 70s, early 80s. And that was kind of what inspired me to start this project. So I was like commuting to work, I was listening to some new wave of British heavy metal band. I was like, oof, I should make a song like that. And I had a few riffs, since that was a little bit like in that direction since playing in other bands. So it's just like 2 days I put together like 2 songs. We were in this style because we had also like covered with my black metal band and my thrash metal band and death metal band. We've been covering songs by Venom and Exciter before, and I was like every time we played those songs, it was like there was like an unexplainable energy in those songs, like compared to other songs. So it was always like, oof, I should do something like that. And during this train ride, I just like figured out the entire concept. I got back home, I was like, because I had like a home studio here, and I was just like making 2 demos out of these 2 songs. I was just like, bam. I never intended to make it a band at that point, but I put it out on the internet, and I drew a logo and took some pictures of myself. That was just something for internet, but it gained so much like attention. So I eventually like had to put a band together, and because the interest on internet was so big to take this to the next level. So eventually it turned out to be like that. But at that time, I never intended to make a real band out of it. But I was very, very happy with how it came together, how it sounded, how fresh it sounded, how new and old at the same time that it sounded, you know.
So, what are the 3 songs that would you suggest for non-enforcer listeners? Like, yeah.
It depends. It depends on what you like in other types of music, but because I think that we have 5 albums, we have like more than 50 songs available, and where all the songs are different from each other. And I think we have been through flirting with a lot of different styles, everything from black metal, thrash metal, speed metal, heavy metal, to more like commercial rock, 70s rock, AOR, like everything, you know. We have songs for everyone, I think so. But one of our signature songs, I would say, like maybe that would be Undying Evil, or from the early stuff, maybe like Mistress from Hell would be like a song that would be like defining for our sound.
I think all of your songs are really great.
No, thank you.
And each of them has actually, like you said, you have inspired from all other genres too. So
yeah,
it makes them very unique.
I think so too, and that's always been the goal, to not do any music that not be predictable, and not do anything that doesn't stand out.
I think you're doing it great.
Thank you.
So do you want to say anything? Because I have finished my questions.
Oh, I don't know what to say on that question. I have nothing to say. Nothing special, unless you wanted to know something.